What's up, everybody? I am back, and we are here to talk about more 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. So today we're going to be going over the fighter class. I'm trying to make myself not look so bunched up in there. Today we're going to be going over the fighter class. The fighter class is actually a really fun, really straightforward class. I never played fighters because I always want to be something with more flavor, but I think that falls on me. So many characters I like Wolverine, Deadpool, and different characters. I think Deadpool's a great example, would fall into the type of character you would design with this. A lot of X-Force, and just a lot of characters who are just that kind of, a lot of action characters you can make. Let's get into this. Let's read let's do what we normally be doing. We're going to read the first few pages, then I'm going to overview the rest because it's too much to read. And it would make for real boring reading. And I'm sure people are already bored going, why are you coming on Facebook Live and reading, Dungeons and Dragons and then posting to your YouTube? Why not? I got nothing else to do, man. Fighter. A human in clanging plate armor holds her shield before her as she runs toward the masked goblins. An elf behind her, clad in studded leather armor, peppers the goblins with arrows loosed from his exquisite bow. The half-elf orc nearby shouts orders, helping the two combatants coordinate their assault to the best advantage. A dwarf in chainmail interposes his shield between an ogre's club and his companion. Knocking the deadly blow aside, his companion, a half-elf in scale armor, swings two scimitars in a blinding whirl as she circles an ogre, looking for a blind spot in its defense. A gladiator fights for sport in an arena, a master with his trident and net, skilled at toppling foes and moving them around to the crowd's delight, and his own tactical advantage. His opponent's sword flares with blue light an instant before she sends lightning flashing forth to smite him. All of these heroes are fighters, perhaps the most diverse class of characters in the world of Dungeons & Dragons, questing knights, conquering overlords, royal champions, elite foot soldiers, hardened mercenaries, and bandit kings as fighters. They all share an unparalleled mastery with weapons and armor and a thorough knowledge of the skills of combat, and they are well acquainted with death, both meeting it out and staring it defiantly in the face. Fighters, well-rounded specialists. Fighters learn the basics of all combat styles. Every fighter can swing an axe, fence with a rapier, wield a longsword or greatsword, use a bow, and even trap foes in a net with some degree of skill. Likewise, a fighter is adept with shields and every form of armor. Beyond that basic degree of familiarity, each fighter specializes in a certain style of combat. Some concentrate on archery, some on fighting with two weapons at once, and some on augmenting their martial skills with magic. This combination of broad general ability and extensive specialization makes fighters superior combatants on battlefields and in dungeons alike. Trained for danger. Not every member of the city watch, the village militia, or the Queen's army is a fighter. Most of these troops are relatively untrained soldiers with only the most basic combat knowledge. Veteran soldiers, military officers, trained bodyguards, dedicated knights, and similar figures are fighters. Some fighters feel drawn to use their training as adventurers. The dungeon delving, monster slaying, and other dangerous work common among adventurers is second nature for a fighter, and not at all that different from the life he or she has left behind. There are greater risks, perhaps, but also much greater rewards. Fighters in the city which have the opportunity to discover a magic flame-tongued sword, for example. So check this out. Creating a fighter. As you build your fighter, think about two related elements of your character's background. Where did you get your combat training, and what sets you apart from the mundane warriors around you? Were you particularly ruthless? Did you get extra help from a mentor? Perhaps because of your exceptional dedication, perhaps you got a mentor from your exceptional dedication. What drove you to this training in the first place? A threat to your homeland? A thirst for revenge? Or a need to prove yourself? Might have all been factors. You might even enjoy formal training in a noble's army or in a local militia. Perhaps you trained in a war academy, learning strategic tactics and military history. Or you might be self-taught, unpolished but well-tested. Did you take up the sword as a way to escape the limits of your life on a farm? Or are you following a proud family tradition? Where did you acquire your weapons and armor? They might have been military issued or family heirlooms, or perhaps you scrimped and saved for years to buy them. Your ornaments are now among your most important possessions, the only thing that stands between you and death's embrace. So, let's go over the meta stuff. You're going to get 1d10 for life, so you're going to start with 10 hit points. Then you'll get to roll 1d10 or just get 6 hit points when you level up. Your armor, you're proficient in all armors. You're proficient with shields. You're proficient in simple weapons and martial weapons, so you're proficient in all weapons. You're not proficient in any tools. Strength and constitution should be your most important things, it looks like. You get to choose 2 skills: acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, or survival. You're going to get to pick your little kit like everyone else. Your fighting styles are going to vary. You're going to pick from archery. You're going to pick from defense. You're going to pick from dueling. You're going to pick from great weapon fighting, protection, or 2-weapon fighting. Archery, obviously, you're going to be shooting your bows, your arrows, your crossbows. What defense is going to do is that it's going to give you a +1 to your armor class bonus, so you're going to specialize in being tanky. Dueling, when you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand and none in the other, so if you have one weapon and only one hand, you're going to gain +2 to your damage rolls, like you're dueling. Great weapon fighting, that's usually 2 hands. Yep, when you roll a 1 or 2 on a damage die for an attack, you make with a melee weapon you are wielding with 2 hands. You can re-roll that, so you're going to always do heavier damage when you're doing that. Protection, this one's cool. When a creature you can see attacks a target other than you within 5 feet, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack roll. You must be wielding a shield. You're using your shield up to help your partner. 2-weapon fighting. This is probably where I would go. Archery is always fun because it's always meta, easy to play just to shoot people. That's why the gun is what we use now. But 2-weapon fighting. When you engage in 2-weapon fighting, you add your ability modifier to the damage of the second attack. You're running in with 2 weapons. You're doing that. You're that guy. Second wind's going to let you heal yourself once. Action surge, you get at level 2. You can take an additional action on top of what you normally do. At level 3, you're going to pick a martial archetype. And that martial archetype is really going to dictate kind of how your character goes. You can start attacking twice whenever you take an action, starting level 5. At level 9, your saving throws become stronger. So here's your martial archetypes. You have the champion. I'm just going to read the little description. The archetypal champion focuses on the development of raw physical power, honed to deadly perfection. Those who model themselves on this archetype combine rigorous training with physical excellence to deal devastating blows. So you're going to be hitting hard. You're a fighter that you just hit like a motherfucker. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You don't even get a bunch of features. You just start adding. At level 7, you can add half your proficiency bonus to any strength, dexterity, or constitution check that doesn't already apply, so you start to gain strength modifiers on other things you shouldn't. That's cool. The Battle Master, those who emulate the archetypal Battle Master employ martial techniques passed down through generations. To a Battle Master, combat is an academic field, sometimes including subjects beyond battle, such as weaponsmithing and calligraphy. Not every fighter absorbs the lessons of history, theory, and artistry that are reflected in the Battle Master archetype, but those who do are well-rounded fighters of great skill and knowledge. So you're going to become this is a more tactical fighter. You're going to learn maneuvers. You're going to have superiority dice. You have 4 superiority dice, which are D8s. Superiority dice is expended when you use it. You regain all of them. So you're going to have dice to replace stuff. At Student of War, you're going to pick a tool to be proficient in. You get to identify enemies and things better. There's an Eldritch Knight. I think the Eldritch Knight's really cool. The Eldritch Knight essentially is that you're a hybrid fighter wizard. You're going to start drawing spells from the wizard spell book. You're going to use intelligence as your attack. Let me read a little flavor for that. The other one sounds real quick. The one that I'm moving on from, the Battle Master. The Battle Master has a bunch of stances and maneuvers that you're going to have to learn and do, and it's just too much to read. So I made it sound boring, and I went because of how I glossed over it. It's actually really tactical, and you have to look at how you'd want to play this fighter and which of these maneuvers you'd want to take. I'll just read one out loud, like rally. On your turn, you can use a bonus action and expend 1 superiority dice to bolster the resolve of one of your companions. When you do so, choose a friendly creature who can see or hear you. That creature gains temporary hit points equal to the superiority die plus your charisma modifier. So in that sense, you're going to want to be taking, if you're taking that, you're probably going to be a tankier fighter who's trying to mitigate damage away from your party, and you're going to want to see how the other maneuvers factor in. So let's read about the Eldritch Knight, that fighter build. The archetypal Eldritch Knight combines the martial mastery common to all fighters with a careful study of magic. Eldritch Knights use magical techniques similar to those practiced by wizards. They focus their study on 2 of the 8 schools of magic, abjuration and evocation. Abjuration spells grant an Eldritch Knight additional protections in battle, and evocation spells deal damage to many foes at once, extending the fighter's reach in combat. These knights learn a comparatively small number of spells, committing them to memory instead of keeping them as spellbook. Wizard, when they use these spells, have to remember their spells every night and reread them. You're going to get cantrips, but cantrips are really useful, a lot more useful than spells in this game, I think, in these games. The Eldritch Knight spellcasting table shows you blah, blah, blah. It's just basic spellcasting. At level 7, you're going to become a war wizard, and when you use your action to cast a cantrip, you can make 1 weapon attack, so they'll start shooting or doing cantrip attacks with one and swinging with the other. It's a cool class. It's as diverse as you want it to be. You're going to really want to look at the backgrounds, so you can get some more skills out of there to really help hash out your character. Your race is going to play a big factor. Humans fit in nice, but some of the other races are going to gain other little things that are going to make them nice. I think just about every race fits into the fighter class based on how you play them, especially because finesse weapons, I believe. I don't know if you have to take training in it. I'll look it up and have an answer for tomorrow. But weapons with the finesse property, I know they can use their dexterity to make attacks. So you could per se be a fighter that's actually lower on strength, but high dex. And dex also factors into range attacks too. And so I don't know if one race in particular fits this class, in that I'm pretty sure it can flex pretty good, and that's why it was mentioned that it's super versatile. In fact, every race might fit this class based on how you build it. All right, guys, thank you for listening to me. I love you guys. I'll be back tomorrow with more D&D. Peace.